Hi everyone, this is Lara Hammock from the Marble Jar channel, and in today's video I will talk about using EFT tapping as a way to gain self-compassion and what I call internal emotional safety. This is the first in a two-part series. So I think emotional safety is the key ingredient to making lasting and real changes in your life. You can see my video on this, but the upshot is that even though I think both external and internal emotional safety are important, only internal safety is required for lasting behavior change, meaning you have to give yourself love and compassion. The ability to be kind and soothe yourself allows you to face the world in all of its challenges and difficulties and know that you can handle it and that you will bounce back. But the big question is, how do I go about feeling emotionally safe? How do I learn to be self-compassionate? We understand how to heal with others by learning how to trust them, but how the heck am I supposed to heal on my own? I think EFT tapping can be the answer. Tapping, or emotional freedom therapy, EFT, is a therapeutic technique that seems completely voodoo, but it has a huge evidence base to back up its efficacy for a whole range of issues, from anxiety and depression to PTSD, addiction, and weight loss. I'm obsessed with it, and I believe that it is a practice that contains all of the 5 elements of self-compassion: awareness, understanding, kindness, soothing, and acceptance. It's part of a therapy branch called energy psychology because it's based on the belief that you are tapping on meridian energy points to release stuck energy in your body. So I don't really believe any of that, and it's very difficult to prove since there's not a lot of scientific research around energy planes and chakras. Instead, I have a different theory about how it works, but before I get into that, I just want to tell you about what tapping entails. For what it's worth, I am not a tapping guru. I am a novice. There are many, many videos of people who've been doing this for years, but I am offering just this quick tutorial and my own take on it. So tapping has verbal, emotional, and physical components to it. Let's go through each one. First, verbal. The verbal part is a 2-part statement. The first part is something uncomfortable or negative. So I prefer the word uncomfortable, but tapping people use negative, so I'm going to go with their language. You can use a negative emotion. For example, I am angry with my boss for giving me a bad annual review. Or you can use a negative thought like, I am too overweight to exercise. And the more specific, the better. The second part of the statement is accepting and compassionate, like, I deeply and completely accept myself. So the full setup phrase might be, even though I am angry with my boss for giving me a bad annual review, I deeply and completely accept myself. Emotional. It is important to choose something that has an emotional bite to it. If you don't care whether you got a bad annual review, then that is not something you should tap on. You have to recognize the thought or emotion and then determine what kind of an emotional charge it has for you on a scale from 1 to 10. You can do this by determining how bad the phrase makes you feel, with 1 being perfectly fine and 10 being perfectly awful. Try to choose a negative statement that has an emotional charge of 5 or above. It's important to really feel that emotion while you are doing this practice. Physical. Okay. Once you have your 2-part phrase and your emotional rating, you are ready to add the physical part. So this is where it starts to feel a little kooky, but I am telling you, it does work. You will be repeating your phrase, evoking the emotion, and tapping on 9 different parts of your body, starting with the side of your hand. So take a couple of deep breaths before you get started. Then you're going to begin tapping on the side of your hand just below the pinky finger. They call this the karate chop point. It doesn't matter how many fingers you use to tap, I'm using 4, or how fast you tap, you just start tapping, and while you're tapping, repeat your phrase. I'm going to pick one that most of us can relate to. Even though I'm feeling really stressed out, I deeply and completely accept myself. So as you are tapping the side of your hand, you repeat that 2-part setup phrase 3 times. Then you're going to do a couple of rounds of tapping with the negative phrase. The most basic way to do this is just to repeat the negative phrase each time you tap one of the 8 points. Okay, so I'm going to do this a little faster than they normally do it, but it goes like this. First, start on the eyebrow. Even though I am really stressed out. Now the outside of the eye. I am really stressed out. Underneath the eye. I'm really stressed out. Now under the nose, I'm really stressed out. Under the lip, I'm really stressed out. Under the collarbone, I'm really stressed out. Underneath the arm, I'm really stressed out. And the top of the head, I'm really stressed out. Okay, that was 8 points and 1 round. You can also improvise a bit on these phrases. They need to be about the same thing, but you can add a little texture to it like this. So start with the eyebrow. Even though I am really stressed out, I'm feeling a lot of pressure. It feels really overwhelming. All of the stress, all of this pressure. I feel like I can't get everything done. I'm overwhelmed by what it is that I have to do. All of this stress and pressure. Okay, so you can see, you can say the straight phrase, which is kind of like my analogy is like practicing piano scales, or you can improvise on the same theme, which is sort of like jazz piano. So once you've done a couple of rounds on your negative phrase, you check back in with yourself and assess your emotional rating. I said this before, but it only works if you can actually feel the emotion while you are tapping. If you just say the words mechanically, or you get really distracted by whether or not you are tapping properly, it won't work. You have to feel it to heal it. One quick note here. If you are tapping on deep-seated trauma, you may want to do this with a licensed professional who can help you gradually work through things rather than jumping in at the deep end by yourself. I'm not saying you can't do it, but it might be safer to do this with someone else to help you. So basically, you keep tapping on the negative phrase or variants of that phrase until you start to get some relief. This can take many, many rounds. Plan to do this for at least 15 minutes depending on how intensely you feel. Your level of emotion should go from above a 5 to down to around a 1 or a 2 before you move on. Once you have reduced your emotional level, you can do a couple of positive rounds. Here's what that looks like. I deeply and completely accept myself. I deeply love and accept myself. I choose to love and accept myself. It's safe to let this go. I can relax and let this go. I deeply and completely accept myself. I deeply love and accept myself. I choose to love and accept myself. Okay, so again, you can say the same phrase over and over again, or you can improvise a bit. Remember, this is not a positive affirmation. This is a statement of kindness, acceptance, and compassion to yourself. If you feel uncomfortable with the phrases that I've offered, you can modify them to something that feels real to you. Just make sure that it is unremittingly kind and it accepts you completely for who you are with all of your complexities. And that's it. It is a fairly simple self-compassion practice that anyone can learn to do on their own. It allows you to process negative thoughts and emotions and memories by gradually taking the emotional sting out of them so that you can unfuse with that negativity and see everything a little more objectively. Okay, so now that I've explained what tapping is, join me in my next video where I go into how I believe that it works and how it fosters internal emotional security or self-compassion. Comments are always appreciated, and thanks for watching.